Hello and welcome for today's reading of Artemis Fowl by Ian Colfer. Today I'll be starting chapter 8. Root leaned forward, roaring into the microphone. Mulch, what's happening? What's your status? Foley was tapping a keyboard furiously. We've lost audio. Motion 2. Mulch, talk to me, darn it. I'm running a scan on vitals. Whoa. What? What is it? His heart. It's gone crazy, beating like a rabbit. A rabbit? No way, it's... What? Breathed the commander, terribly afraid that he already knew. Foley leaned back in his chair. It stopped. His heartbeat has stopped. Are you sure? The monitors don't lie. All vitals can be read through the iris cam. Not a peep. He's gone. Root couldn't believe it. Mulch Diggums, one of life's contestants. Gone? It couldn't be true. He did it too, Foley. Recovered a copy of the book, no less, and he confirmed Short was alive. Foley's wide brow creased for an instant. It's just that... What? Said Root, suspicion aroused. Well, for a moment there, just before the end, his heart rate seemed abnormally fast. Maybe it was a malfunction. The centaur was unconvinced. I doubt it. My bugs don't have bugs. What other explanation could there be? You still have visuals, don't you? Yep, through dead eyes, no doubt about it. Not a spark of electricity in that brain. The camera's running on its own battery. Well, that's it. No other explanation. Foley nodded. It would seem that way unless... No, it's too fantastic. Foley opened his mouth to voice his incredible theory, but before he could speak, the shuttle's bay door slid open. We have him, said a triumphant voice. Yes, agreed a second. Fowl has made a mistake. Root swiveled on his chair. It was Argon and Cumulus, the so-called behavioral analysts. Oh, we finally decided to earn our retainers, have we? But united by excitement, the professors were not so easily intimidated. Columbus even had the temerity to wave Root's sarcasm aside. This, more than anything else, made the commander sit up and take notice. Aragon brushed past Foley, pressing a laser disc into the console's player. Artemis Fowl's face appeared, as seen through Root's iris cam. We'll be in touch, said the commander's recorded voice. Don't worry, I'll see myself out. Fowl's face disappeared momentarily as he rose from his chair. Root lifted his gaze in time for the next chilling statement. You do that, but remember this. None of your race has permission to enter here while I'm alive. Argon pressed the pause button triumphantly. There, you see? Root's complexion lost any final traces of pallor. There? There what? What do I see? Cumulus tutted as one would a slow child, a mistake in retrospect. The commander had him by the pointy beard in under a second. Now, he said, his voice deceptively calm, pretend we've pushed for time here, and just explain it to me without any attitude or comments. The human said we couldn't enter when he was alive, squeaked Cumulus. So? Aragon took up the account. So, if we can't go in when he's alive, Root drew a sharp breath, then we go in when he's dead. Cumulus and Aragon beamed. Exactly, they said in perfect unison. Root scratched his chin. I don't know. We're on shaky ground here legally. Not at all, agreed Cumulus. It's elementary grammar. The human specifically stated that entry was forbidden as long as he was alive. That's tantamount to an invitation when he's dead. The commander wasn't convinced. The invitation is applied at best. No, interrupted Foley. They're right. It's a strong case. Once Fowl is dead, the door's wide open. He said it himself. Maybe nothing, blurted Foley. For heaven's sake, Julius, how much more do you need? We have a crisis here in case you haven't noticed. Root nodded slowly. 1, you're right. 2, I'm going to run with it. 3, well done, you two. And 4, you ever call me Julius again, Foley, and you'll be eating your old hooves. Now get me a line to the council. I need to get approved for that gold. Right away, Commander Root, your worship. Foley grinned, letting the hoof-eating comment slide for Holly's sake. So, we send in the gold, muttered Root, thinking aloud. They send out Holly, we blue-rinse the place, and stroll in to reclaim the ransom. Simple. It's so simple, it's brilliant, enthused Aragon. Quite a coup for our profession. Won't you say so, Dr. Cumulus? Cumulus's head was spinning with possibilities. Lecture tours, book deals. Why, the movie rights alone will be worth a fortune. Let those sociologists stuff this in their collective pipe. Put the kibosh on the deprivation breeds antisocial behavior chestnut. This foul character has never gone hungry in his life. There's more than one kind of hunger, noted Argon. Very true. Hunger to succeed, hunger to dominate, hunger to... Root snapped. Get out! Get out before I strangle the pair of you. And if I ever hear a word of this repeated on an afternoon talk show, I'll know where it came from. The consultants retreated warily, resolving not to call their agents until they were out of earshot. I don't know if the council will go for this, admitted Root when they had departed. It's a lot of gold. Foley looked up from his counsel. How much exactly? The commander slid a piece of paper across the console. That much. That is a lot, Foley whistled. A ton. Small unmarked ingots. 24 karat only. Well, at least it's a nice round weight. Very comforting. I'll be sure to mention that to the council. Have you got that line yet? The centaur grunted. A negative grunt. Very brazen, really, grunting at a superior officer. Root didn't have the energy to discipline him, but he did make a mental note. When this is over, Doc Foley's pay for a few decades. He rubbed his eyes exhaustedly. Time lag was beginning to set in. Even though his brain wouldn't let him sleep because he'd been very awake when the time stop was initiated, his body was crying out for rest. He rose from the chair, swinging the door wide to let in some air. Stale, time stop air. Not even molecules could escape the time field, much less a human boy. There was activity by the portal, lots of it. A swarm of troops gathered around a hovercraft. Cudgeon stood at the head of the procession, and the entire bunch was heading this way. Root stepped down to meet them. What's this? He inquired, none too pleasantly. A circus? Cudgeon's face was pale but determined. No, Julius, it's the end of the circus. Root nodded. I see, and these are the clowns? Foley's head poked through the doorway. Pardon me for interrupting your extended circus metaphor, but what the heck is that? Yes, Lieutenant, said Root, nodding at the floating hovercraft. What the heck is that? Cudgeon bolstered the courage with a few deep breaths. I've taken a leaf from your book, Julius. Is that a fact? It is. You've opted to send in a lapsed creature, so now I'm going to. Root smiled dangerously. You don't opt to do anything, Lieutenant, not without my say-so. Cudgeon took an unconscious step backwards. I've been to the council, Julius. I have their full backing. The commander turned to Foley. Is this true? Apparently, it just came through on the outside line. This is Cudgeon's party now. He told the council about the ransom demand and you springing Mr. Diggums. You know what the elders are like when it comes to parting with gold. Root folded his arms. People told me about you, Cudgeon. They said that you stabbed me in the back. I didn't believe them. I was a fool. This is not about us, Julius. It's about the mission. What's inside this cage is our best chance of success. So what's in the cage? No, don't tell me. The only other non-magical creature in the lower elements, and the first troll we've managed to take alive in over a century. Exactly. The perfect creature to flush out our adversary. Root's cheeks glowed with the effort of restraining his anger. I don't believe you're even considering this. Face it, Julius, it's the same basic idea as yours. Oh, no, it isn't. Mulch. Diggums made his own choices. He knew the risk. Diggums is dead? Root rubbed his eyes again. Yes, it would seem so, a cave-in. Well, that just proves I'm right. A troll won't be so easily dispatched. It's a dumb animal, for heaven's sakes. How can a troll follow instructions? Cudgeon smiled, newborn confidence peeping through his apparition. Apprehension. What instructions? We just point it at the house and get out of the way. I guarantee to you these humans will be begging us to come in and rescue them. And what about my officer? We'll have the troll back under lock and key before Captain Short is in any danger. You can guarantee that, can you? Cudgeon paused. That's a chance the council is willing to take. Politics, spat Root. This is all politics to you, Cudgeon. A nice feather in your cap on your way to the council seat. You make me sick. Be that as it may, we are proceeding with the strategy. The council has appointed me acting commander, so if you can't put our personal history aside, get the heck out of my way. Root stepped aside. Don't worry, Commander. I don't want to do anything without this. I don't want anything to do with this butchery. The credit is all yours. Cudgeon put on his best sincere face. Julius, despite what you think, I have only the interest of the people at heart. One person in particular, snorted Root. Cudgeon decided to go for the high moral ground. I don't have to stand here listening to this. Every second talking to you is like a second wasted. Root looked him straight in the eye. That's about 600 years wasted altogether. Ah, friend? Cudgeon didn't answer. What could he say? Ambition had a price, and that price was friendship. Cudgeon turned to his squad, a group of hand-picked sprites loyal only to him. Get the hovercraft over to the avenue. We don't green light until I give the word. He brushed past Root, eyes looking everywhere except at his erstwhile friend. Foley wouldn't let him go without a comment. Hey, Cudgeon! The acting commander couldn't tolerate that tone, not on his first day. You watch your mouth, Foley. No one is indispensable. The centaur chuckled. Very true. That's the thing about politics. You get one shot. Cudgeon was semi-interested in spite of himself. I know if it was me, continued Foley, and I had one chance, just one chance, to look at my behind on a seat in that council, I certainly wouldn't entrust my future to a troll. And suddenly, Cudgeon's newfound confidence evaporated, replaced by a shiny pallor. He wiped his brow, hurrying after the departing hovercraft. See you tomorrow, Foley called after him. You'll be taking out my trash. Ruth laughed, possibly the first time one of Foley's comments had amused him. Good man, Foley, he grinned. Hit that backstabber where it hurts, right in the ambition. Thanks, Julius. The grin disappeared faster than a deep-fried pit slug in the LEP canteen. I've warned you about the Julius thing, Foley. Now get that outside line open again. I want that gold ready when Cudgeon's plan goes awry. Lobby all my supporters on the council. I'm pretty sure Lope's one of mine. And Carhartez, possibly Vinyaya. She's always had a thing for me, devilishly attractive as I am. You're joking, of course. I never joke, said Rue, and he said it with a straight face. Holly had a plan of sorts. Sneak around shielded, reclaim some fairy weaponry, then cause havoc until Fowl was forced to release her. And if the several million Irish pounds worth of property damage happened to ensue, well, that was just a bonus. Holly hadn't felt so good in years. Her eyes blazed with power, and there were sparks sizzling just below the centimeter of skin. She had forgotten how good running hot felt. Captain Short felt in control now, on the hunt. This is what she was trained to do. When this affair had started, the advantage had been with the mud people. But now the boot was on the other foot. She was the hunter, and they were the prey. Holly scaled the great staircase, ever vigilant for the giant manservant. That was one individual she wasn't taking any chances with. If those fingers closed around her skull, she was history, helmet or not, assuming she managed to find a helmet. The vast house was like a mausoleum without a single sign of life inside its vaulted rooms. Spooky portraits, though, each one with foul eyes, suspicious and glittering. Holly determined to torch the lot of them when she recovered her Neutrino 2000. Vindictive, perhaps, but totally justified, considering what Artemis Fowl had put her through. She scaled the steps swiftly, following the curve around the upper landing. A slot of pale light peeked from under the last door in the corridor. Holly placed her palm against the wood, feeling for vibrations. Activity all right, shouting and footsteps, thundering this way. Holly jumped back, flattering herself against the velveteen wallpaper. Not a moment too soon. A hulking shape burst through the doorway and hurtled down the corridor, leaving a maelstrom of air currents in its wake. Juliet! He shouted his sister's name, hanging in the air long after he disappeared down the stairs. Don't worry, Butler, thought Holly. She's having the time of her life, glued to WrestleMania. But the open door presented a welcome opportunity. She slipped through before the mechanical arm could close again. Artemis Fowl was waiting. Anti-shield filters cobbled onto his sunglasses. Good evening, Captain Short, he began, a confidence apparently intact. At the risk of sounding cliched, I've been expecting you. Holly didn't respond, didn't even look her jailer in the eye. Instead, she utilized her training to scan the room, her gaze resting briefly on each surface. You are, of course, still bound by the promises made earlier tonight. But Holly wasn't listening. She was sprinting towards a stainless steel workbench bolted to the far wall. So basically, our situation hasn't changed. You are still my hostage. Yeah, muttered Holly, running her fingers over the rows of confiscated retrieval equipment. She selected a Steith-coated helmet, slipping it over her pointed ears. The phonemic pads pumped to cradle her crown. She was safe now. Any further commands given by Fowl meant nothing through the reflective visor. A wire mic slotted down automatically. Contact was immediate. On revolving frequencies. Broadcasting on revolving frequencies. Holly, if you can hear me, take cover. Holly recognized Foley's voice. Something familiar in a crazy situation. Repeat, take over. Cudgian is sending in a... Something I should know, said Artemis. Quiet, hissed Holly, worried by the tone of Foley's unusual flippant voice. I say again, they're sending in a troll to secure your release. Holly started. Cudgian was calling the shots now. Not good news at all. Fowl interrupted again. It's not polite, you know, ignoring your host. Holly snarled. Enough is enough. She pulled back her fist, fingers curled in a tight bunch. Artemis didn't flinch. Why would he? Butler always invented those punches. Ooh. Butler always invent before punches landed. But then something caught his eyes. A large figure running down the stairway on the first floor monitor. It was Butler. That's right, rich boy, said Holly nastily. You're on your own this time. And before Artemis' eyes had time to widen, Holly put on an extra few pounds of spring in her elbow and whacked her abductor right on the nose. Oof, he said, collapsing onto his rear end. Oh, yes, that felt good. Holly focused on the voice buzzing in her ear. We've been feeding a loop to the outside cameras so the humans won't see anything coming up the avenue, but it's on the way, trust me. Foley, come in. Holly, is that you? The one and only, Foley. There is no loop. I can see everything that's going on around here. That cunning little... He must have rebooted the system. The avenue was a hive of fairy activity. Cudgian was there, hotly directing his team of sprites, and in the center of the melee stood a 16-foot-tall hover cage floating on a cushion of air. The cage was directly before the manor door, and the techies were securing a seal to the surrounding wall. When activated, several alloy rods in the seal's collar would be detonated simultaneously, effectively disintegrating the door. When the dust settled, the troll would have only one place to go, into the manor. Holly checked the other monitors. Butler had managed to drag Juliet from her cell. They had ascended from the cellar door and were just crossing the lobby, right in front of the line of fire. Darn it, she swore, crossing to the work surface. Artemis was propped on his elbows. You hit me, he said in disbelief. Holly strapped on a set of hummingbirds. That's right, Fowl, and there's plenty more where that came from, so stay right where you are if you know what's good for you. For once in his life, Artemis realized he didn't have a snappy answer. He opened his mouth, waiting for his brain to supply the customary pithy comeback, but nothing arrived. Holly slipped the Neutrino 2000 into its holster. That's right, my boy. Playtime's over. Time for the professionals to take over. If you're a good boy, I'll buy you a lollipop when I get back. And when Holly was gone, soaring beneath the hallway's ancient oak beams, Artemis said, I don't like lollipops. It was a woefully inadequate response, and Artemis was instantly appalled with himself. Pathetic, really. I don't like lollipops. No self-respecting criminal mastermind would be caught dead even using the word lollipops. He really would have to put together a database of witty responses for occasions such as this. It was quite possible that Artemis would have sat like that for some time, totally detached from the situation at hand, had not the front door imploded, shaking the manor to its foundations. A thing like that is enough to knock the daydreams from anyone's heads. A sprite alighted before Acting Commander Cudgian. The collar is in place, sir. Cudgian nodded. Are you sure it's tight, Captain? I don't want that troll coming out the wrong way. Tighter than a goblin's wallet. There's not even a bubble of air getting through that seal. Tighter than a stinkworm's. Very well, Captain, interrupted Cudgian hurriedly before the sprite could complete his graphic analogy. Beside them, the hovercraft shook violently, almost toppling the container from its air cushion. We better blow that sucker, Commander, if we don't want to let him out of here too soon. My boy's going to spend the next week scraping. Fine, Captain, fine. Blow it, for goodness sake. Cudgian hurried behind the blast shield, scribbling on a note in his palm-top screen. Memo, remind all the sprites to watch their language. After all, I am a commander now. The foul-mouthed captain in question turned to the hovercraft's cab driver. Blow her, Chicks. Blow the door off its hinges. Yes, sir, off its hinges. That's a Roger. Cudgeon winced. There'll be a general meeting tomorrow, first thing. By then, he'll have the commander's icon on his lapel. Even a sprite might be less likely to curse with the triple acorn logo winking in his face. Chicks pulled down his sharpened goggles, even though the cab had a quartz windscreen. The goggles were cool. Girls loved them, or so the driver thought. In his mind's eye, he saw himself as a grim-faced daredevil. Sprites were like that. Give a fairy a pair of wings, and he thinks he's God's gift to women. But Chick Verbal's ill-fated quest to impress the dames is, once again, another story. In this particular tale, he serves only one purpose, and that is to melodramatically push the detonate button, the detonate button, which he does with great aplomb. 24 controlled charges detonated in their chambers, driving 24 alloy cylinders out of their mounts at over 1,000 miles per hour. Upon impact, each bar pulverized the contact area plus the surrounding 15 centimeters effectively, blowing the door off its hinges, as the captain would say. When the dust settled, the handlers winced back the containment wall inside the cage and began hammering the side panels with the flats of their hands. Cudgeon peeped out from behind the blast shield. All clear, Captain? Just a second, Commander. Chicks, how are we doing? Chicks checked the cab's monitor. He's moving. The hammer is spooking him. The claws are coming out. My, he's a big sucker. I wouldn't want to be that recon babe if she gets in the way of this. Cudgeon felt a momentary pang of guilt, which he dispelled with his favorite daydream, a vision of himself sinking into a beige velour council seat. The cage heaved violently, almost dislodging Chicks from his seat. He held on like a rodeo driver. Whoa, he's on the move. Lock and load, boys. I have a feeling that any second we're going to be getting a cry for help. Cudgeon didn't bother locking and loading. He preferred to leave that sort of thing to the foot soldiers. The acting commander considered himself too important to be risked in an insecure situation. For the good of the people in general, it was better if he remained outside the op zone. And that is the end of today's reading. Tomorrow we'll finish up the chapter. I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and I'll see you then. Bye.